All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So just a cool announcement. We're $100 away from giving away $1 million.
Hmm.
So we're doing a $1 million martini night. Um, and that will be on May 22nd at 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And Jonathan might be able to chime in and tell us a little bit more about how, because he's kind of organizing it, but that's going to be a really fun alumni event.
Yes, absolutely. So just to give you guys a little bit of background behind it, again, it's $1 million away from
Or
distributing $1 million.
100.
So that's awesome, right? So we're definitely hitting that this semester. Invitations will be coming out here shortly, but we're partnering with the alumni office, and we're hoping to bring some of our past Eagles back here to the nest. But getting everybody, we're inviting the advisory board, all the judges, alumni. Definitely going to make it a really fun, engaging event. I hope you guys can be there.
And are you sending out announcements for that, Jonathan? Or is that
Um, yes, so I will be distributing actual like digital invitations. The alumni office is actually going to be sending out formal invitations by mail.
Okay.
cool? Figured we'd let you guys know that that's happening because we kind of stumbled across that this semester. We're like, oh, we're only $100 away. All
What
right.
happens if you don't drink martinis?
I don't drink martinis either. It's really just a hangout. They might have other drinks, I'm sure.
Okay.
So getting into the judging overview. Any questions before we get going?
Nope.
All right. So we are trying a new process this semester. Normally we do have the video, or in early days we had like poster presentations, but it was a way for us to sort of filter through the students that really put in the work, did a good job validating, even getting traction, um, making sure that we get that good group into the final round in person. We decided to take that one further this semester. So we have our video round, which is always going to really interesting because I feel like the teams have been getting better and better every semester. So it's getting harder and harder to slim things down. But we have at least 30 this semester. We may have up to 40 um, pitches this semester. We've limited it to 5-minute video presentations. And our second round, after we've kind of weeded out the ones that need a little bit more work, we'll have 12 participants. And I'll talk a little bit about each one of these phases in more detail here in just a moment, but we'll be giving out about $20,000 in that second round. And 6 participants from the second round will move on to the final round. Now that final round will be a live in-person pitch in the Fine Mark Incubator, and that will be open to the public. So it'll be the first time that we actually open up a Runway program to a public audience. So students, their families, previous judges from earlier rounds, anyone is allowed to come and observe that. So that should be really fun, much more like a Shark Tank style event than other pitches that we've done. Kind of similar to how Veterans Program operates. In that final round, we'll be giving away up to $40,000, and we'll have a sustainability prize of $5,000. So in total, we can give out up to $65,000 this semester. So just to kind of walk through how our first round will operate. So like I said, about 30 participants, up to 40. We'll submit a 5-minute video actually on this Friday, so April 5th. 15 judges we've got locked in for the first round. Will be provided with links to the videos, as well as one link to our virtual scorecard. And Ron, you may have some ideas for how to best do this, but what tends to work is having the video up on one screen and then having the scorecard up on another screen, right? Kind of gives you the ability to score as you're watching the videos.
Yeah, what I've found, Scott, is that kind of have to go through the whole video first, just to see how all these elements fit together, and then go back to the beginning to score it. That just works better for me. But
yeah, the nice thing about the video round too is you can pause, you can rewind, you can go fast, slow,
Right.
you can kind of get a really good feel for what they actually know in the presentation, right? So we're really looking for those businesses that have done their validation. They know who their target audience is. They've really identified a genuine problem or opportunity, and they've come up with something that actually solves that problem or bridges that gap.
And one of the most important things that, because of the video format that you can check on, is you can actually do a Google search to see if there's any competition, because that's often overlooked by the participants.
It's surprising how normal it is for that to be overlooked.
Yeah.
So ideally, if you do see something like that, I do recommend leaving comments. So the nice thing about the online virtual first round is that in that scorecard you can rank each component here in the scoring rubric, but you can also leave some feedback that kind of showcases why you may have rated something a certain way. And I know pretty much all of our judges, anyone in this room, has done a pretty good job of leaving those comments and feedback. So the students really appreciate when they can understand why they got something rated the way it was.
Okay. So we're not going to be rating as a judge all 30 to 40. You're going to select and divide it up so that each one of us has 7 or 8.
Yeah, so I do a little bit of magic on the back end here, and I make sure that so I kind of set it up so we've got 3 judges per group, and in that group we'll have 7 to 8 videos.
Okay.
So you'll only see 7 to 8 of them. If you'd like to see all of them, I can send all of them your way, but we're only asking that you take a look at 7 to 8 of them.
All right.
Ideally, so I will be sending those out, either actually Jonathan or I will be sending those out, maybe Jonathan. So just keep an eye on email from him or I. The digital scorecards will be due back April 14th, and we're sending those videos out on the 8th. So you'll have a full week to review and score all of the all 7 or 8 of those videos.
All right.
Any questions with that? Excellent. All right, so that's our first round video. And this is what the email will actually look like. Jonathan sent these out last semester, and we do have that link to the judging scorecard, and then we have individual links to each of the videos in the queue.
Oh, I like that feature that you're noting who's received funding from previous presentations. That's helpful.
And that there's actually a question in the scoring rubric. If you end up with one of those in your batch of participants, you can note whether they use the funding wisely. That's something that we want to really take into account. Because in the past we've seen money being used in ways that may or may not have been optimal. And if they use it in a way that wasn't super optimal, did they find ways to correct that or move forward and get to a place where we think they could really utilize additional funds?
Okay. So they got funds, Scott, last time, and they used them, but they didn't get funds in the final round, and so I'm asking you, and so they're back to try and correct the issues and try and move through the process the second time. Is that what it is?
Yeah, so sometimes that's the case. So sometimes they'll have pitched before and not received anything, and we typically won't asterisk those. So we just assume that they're coming through as if they had never pitched before. The ones that have received funding, so they may have gotten to that final round, they got, you know, $4, $5, $6,000. They spent it. What we're looking for as judges in this round is, did they justify how they spent it, and did it move their business in a positive direction? So that's really what we're looking for at this point.
Okay, all right.
And we won't have a ton of those, and there'd be very few that make it to the final round this semester, and I'll talk more about that here in a moment.
Okay.
So second round pitches. So this is an in-person pitch session for those of you who are judges for this one. It's April 19th from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. here in Lucas Hall. We're actually going to be using 2 classrooms at this time. I believe they're on the 3rd floor. We have 2 classrooms that are open. And we'll have 6 participants presenting for 6 participants pitching in each room. So a total of 12 presentations. And this is cut back from that 30 to 40 that'll be in that first round. They'll have 7 minutes to pitch their business ideas to you. They'll probably get it done a little bit faster just because they'll have the 5-minute pitch in there, at least kind of fresh on the mind. It will give them a lot more time to kind of flesh some other details out that they might have missed in that video pitch. And then we'll give you guys 5 minutes to question them and have them give you some answers. There will be lunch and deliberation towards the end of that. And then ideally we'll be able to let the students know that are going to be moving on right after deliberations. So we'll be picking the top 3 participants per judging group. So of the 2 rooms, there will be 3 student teams that end up making it to the final round. So you guys will be able to determine that. We'll also be giving away, well, not giving away, but awarding $10,000 per room. So this is a smaller chunk of change for the teams that that may need some money but aren't quite ready for a bigger chunk of change in the final round. There are some of the businesses that maybe just need some help with R&D, prototyping. So thinking of these second rounds teams, that they're individuals that are probably, some are going to be very, very well validated and they're ready to move on. Some of them may need a little bit more work, but not a ton. So that's the way to be thinking about this. And then only 1 finalist per room will be one that kind of asterisk has pitched before and received funding. So, and if none qualify, that's totally fine. But we're going to limit it so that way we don't have, you know, half the students in the final round pitching for a second time. Any questions on this so far?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So anyone that, say each room selects their top 3, and I guess we're depending on you or whomever is dividing that group up to make sure they're equally divided. So we don't have like all the strong ones in one room, you know, that, but also then do those that are moving on, are they qualified to receive funding? So we've identified 3 in our room, and then do we look for the others to give them, as you said, a little funding to keep them going till theirs is better? Or are we giving some money to people that will be moving on and hopefully getting even more money in the next round?
So I think the best way to look at it is kind of like the latter. If there's a team that you know, they did phenomenal, and in one of their light items they're looking for, you know, $2,000 for something, the way we've kind of thought about it, if they really did a good job with justification, really good job with validation, yes, we could award them with that $2,000 and move them on into that final round where they could receive additional funds. I think that's fine. The way I see it here, it would be ideal to award those that are less likely to make it to the final round. So that way it kind of keeps them engaged and potentially gives them the opportunity to test some things that they weren't able to test without a couple dollars in the bank.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Everyone's good with this one?
Mhm.
All right, so final round. This is going to be April 26th, 8:45 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's definitely a longer session, but 6 finalists will present their ideas to a live audience, in addition to the judges, and everybody is welcome to this. So anyone from the advisory board, anyone from previous round judges are welcome to attend and watch. And then we do plan on announcing awards after judging deliberation. And this will be right here in the FineMark incubator on the first floor. Those final round outcomes are going to be $40,000, up to $40,000 distributed. So ideally, we're looking for presentations that are very well polished. They have done very well with their validation of both the opportunity and the idea. And potentially even have some traction. So we do have some teams. I guess I'm going to do this in the dark. We do have some teams that actually do have some decent traction this year. So I'm excited for. I'm hoping they make it to the final round, but I'm excited for them to present what they've done so far. And then we have this bonus sustainability award that Brian Rist suggested for this semester, and that will be a prize of $5,000. So in the scorecard for the first round, we will have a question asking about sustainability goals. That will also become a question in the second round, and then that person doesn't necessarily have to pitch in the final round. So it doesn't. So if they're not quite ready for the top 6, they can still be eligible for that $5,000 award, but they can also be in that top 6. So we'll have that as a sort of add-on bonus award in the event that they get in top 6 and have the highest. Cool. All right, and I think I do have an example. If you guys would like to watch one of the better videos from last semester, if that's something that you're interested in.
If you think it would help us, sure.
Yeah. 5 minutes.
Hey guys, it's Oscar with Let's See. Let's dive into it. So let me paint the picture for you. It's Southwest Florida. We're in season. Everyone's back in town. You want to grab a bite to eat with your friends and family. The restaurant's busy. It's packed. The tables are full. Your glass is empty. You haven't seen your waiter in a while. You don't know when they're coming back. Let me show you what contributes to this. So right now we have Resi and Open Table, and all they let you do is let the restaurant know what day you'll be there, what time you'll be there, and with how many people. And if you want a faster experience, you have options like Grubhub and Uber Eats, but the problem is those are only for delivery and for pickup. Let me show you how Let's See enhances the dining experience. So what we let you do is we let you pre-order your food to your favorite restaurant. That way when you check into the host stand, your entire party's order goes straight to the waiter that's gonna be taking care of you guys. They put that in. That way the first time they see you, they're bringing out the drinks, letting you know that the appetizers and entrees are on the way. And you're also able to do cool things like let the waiter know if you need a refill, napkins, silverware, and even request the check through Let's See. And all this happens live time, so the waiter knows exactly what you want, the moment you want it. And we did a test run at Haney's Cafe off of 41. Kathy, the general manager, participated as a waitress because she wanted to make sure that her staff would be able to use Let's See, seeing as there's a wide gap in age in her staff. We had 2 out of the 500 pre-registered users that we have engage as customers, and some of the feedback that we got from this test run was from the customers that they said the app was simple to use, easy, intuitive, it made sense, And Kathy, after she brought out the drinks to the table and told them the entrees were on the way, she looked at me and said, well, what do I do now? And that's when I told her, well, now you can cross-sell, you can upsell, since you knew what your table wanted before, and now you can just overall focus on the customer experience. And Vern took this as an opportunity, the owner of the restaurant, to say, since we know what everyone wants before they walk in the door, we can give them the regular experience. And we're also going to be doing a future test run later this week at Haney's Cafe with a family. And we're also going to be doing a test run later this week with a food truck, just to see what that experience is like and see how it fits with us. So now let's get into the money. What do we make? What does it cost us? And what do we keep? So for you to pre-order your food at your favorite restaurant costs $1.25. It costs us 34 cents in merchant fees, leaving us with 91 cents in profit. And using Haney's as a benchmark, with just 10% market share, we make an out-of-season activity $25 a day, $750 a month, and we charge the restaurant $400 a month to be on our network. So that brings us to a total of $1,150 with out-of-season activity at 10% market share. With 10% market share in in-season activity, we make $125 a day, $3,750 a month, with a grand total of $4,150 a month from just one restaurant with in-season activity. And if we were to grow these numbers with 10 restaurants with out-of-season activity with just 10% market share, we make $11,500. And with in-season activity at just 10% market share, we make $41,500 with just 10 restaurants. So now let me introduce the team that made this all happen. Me, Austria Garcia Vasquez, the CEO/developer. I was an engineer at American Express. I got laid off, and right now I do pool service and maintenance. The reason being, it gives me the greatest flexibility and time to focus the majority of my time and effort towards Let's Eat so we can grow our business. Travis Gale is an engineer at Amazon, and we're both FGC alumni, class of 21 from the software engineering program. And Janelle Blanco, our COO/project manager, makes sure that we stay on task, meet our deliverables, and keep the vision of Let's Eat what it's supposed to be. And what does it cost us to keep the lights on? It's $170 a month, divided up between our Google Gmail, database, servers, and office costs. And what did it cost us to acquire a restaurant on our network? So that day that I went out and acquired Haney's, I went to 12 different restaurants, spent $60 in gas, $20 in startup material, and $50 for that demo experience, and all that resulted in one closed restaurant for $130. So now we're gonna go into what do we need to grow, and just to keep our fixed costs covered over the next 6 months so we can focus on keeping good development and keeping the product that the people love and improving it, it's gonna be $1,020. And to acquire more restaurants, to acquire 10 restaurants, it's gonna be $3,900 with a 33% success rate compared to the day that I went out to Haney's. Not every day is your best day. And also from the marketing, it's gonna, if we had $500 a month, we could reach 25,000 people to 72,000 people a month. And if we did that for over 6 months, it would be $3,000. And for our community outreach events, such as the Christmas tree lighting here at Gulf Coast Town Center, it would be $350 just to be there, and $800 in promotional materials, such as lanyards, grocery tote bags, and phone chargers. And all this to do it at 2 events would cost us $2,300. And the grand total that we're asking for is $10,220. And from me personally and the Let's Eat team, we wanted to thank you guys for your time.
Oh, they're super quick.
Yeah, that reminds me of a couple of things that have happened in previous rounds. One is that sometimes the audio is, I mean, this audio wasn't as bad as I've seen, but sometimes it's so bad you can't understand what the person is saying. And I wish that, you know, they would be told to do it over again so that they have a chance, because it really doesn't give them a chance to succeed. The other thing, it points out why the video has many advantages over like an in-person presentation, because I always go back over and over again to the slides, because I don't know about other judges, but I can't absorb all of that information and try to, you know, see whether it makes any sense at the speed that they run through it. And in 5 minutes, they have to move pretty quickly. So it's a challenge.
I agree, and great points. I think that something that this pitch did that is different than a lot of our other pitches, he actually presented in front of a TV screen, and for For some that works, but something that the audience then misses out on is really clear imagery that they can read or look at while they're presenting. So it's going to be, I'd say it's like a third of the students tend to go this direction where they'll present in front of a screen, hoping that it's big enough for everybody to see it, even if you blow it up real big on a screen. Sometimes it's not quite there. Unfortunately, we can only tell them what works and what doesn't work and hope that they pick what works. So sometimes it is a little bit difficult to either hear or see what's on their screen. In the past, we've had students that'll pitch outside. That tends to be the worst because they have great presentations, but they're fighting the birds and the lawnmowers and the weed eaters, and so it's difficult to sometimes get that across. What I do highly suggest is that assuming that you can at least hear and see most of the content, that we're judging based on the content of the presentation rather than the quality of the video. I know that's tough sometimes, especially if the video is shot outside and on like a flip phone from 10 years ago. But if possible, I do highly recommend focusing on the content rather than the quality.
So Scott, we don't have a specific place that they have to do this, like within our own facility where there's good quality sound and cameras and stuff, you know, almost like a little studio. We don't have that for them. They just have to find a place to do it.
We actually do have that for them, but it's a matter of convincing them to use it sometimes.
Okay. I guess one way to convince them is that nobody can understand them and they don't get any money.
You'd be surprised how difficult it can be.
Take your word for it. Okay.
Any questions? Any additional questions?
Well, the other thing, and this is a general.
Yeah, Scott.
Oh, go ahead. Was someone else going to say something? No.
Well, yeah, my question was, Scott, if you make a good point of judging on the content of the video, not the quality of the video. But if we look at the probability of success, if the plan is implemented versus the quality of the team. So, you might have a really good team that will be successful. They just happen to pick a bad idea. Or you might have a really good idea that really has potential in the market, but the team is weak. Do you have a preference one way or the other there?
It will be apparent when it comes down to their ability to validate assumptions. So they are, whether their video comes out good or bad, isn't gonna be a good indicator of either the team or the idea. What will be a good indicator is if they went and really talked to people to validate assumptions. So with minimum viable product, they're really taught to focus on building some kind of functional prototype, some kind of functional distribution mechanism. So get this thing out there somehow, whether that be in person or online or wherever they end up going. But the feedback mechanism being, make sure it's a valuable feedback that you're getting, whether that's people actually paying you for the product, people signing up for to subscribe or to learn more. We're not just picking like, oh, people liked my post. So they really should have a good idea as to whether or not the product that they're developing or the service that they're developing or the app that they're developing is the right thing to move forward with. I'd say it's more rare now that we get really good teams that have a really bad product. We tend to have, one or two really good individuals that have gone out there and really done their due diligence to talk to people.
You know, one other thing is that, you know, my wish is that you had a standard format for financials. So for example, that everyone had to submit a P&L projection with the same layout, and in fact, even better, that the judges got that in, you know, as a separate, on a separate email or something, so that we would be able to take a look at it carefully, as opposed to trying, you can see on presentations that everyone will do it differently, and you'll see a whole bunch of numbers spread out over a screen. And then it becomes up to us to try to piece it all together to see whether this all works out from a profit standpoint.
That's definitely something that we can try to implement here. I do give them a pretty standard P&L. It's like 1 to 3 years. They can kind of pick the amount of time that they want to do. Whether they use it or not is kind of up to them. But I do think standardizing it would make more sense, just to make the judging process a little bit more standard across the board.
Oh, and it makes them think it through in that kind of detail, you know, instead of just having a bunch of numbers, you know, so.
Definitely.
Good point.
They do have to explain their per unit economics. So some of them may not necessarily get to the idea of bulk pricing just yet, but they will have to understand what everything will cost them on a per unit level. And that's something that I feel like tends to be a more difficult concept with a lot of our students. So it's something that I, as a judge, I would recommend scrutinizing a little bit. So be a little bit tough with them on their financials, because they really do need to see where they're lacking.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a general tendency for students to underestimate expenses. I think that's probably the most constant flaw that I've seen.
Definitely.
But you can't even see that unless they had to lay it out in an easy to read format.
Yeah, I will definitely work on standardizing the P&L. Now, would it be helpful to send you guys something in addition to their video, whether it be an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF version of their projections?
I would love to see that.
Okay.
Sure.
Anything we could look at in advance is helpful.
Okay. And for those of you that are going to be judging in person, we can send you the videos in advance as well. Is that something that you'd be interested in?
Yes,
That's a great idea. Yeah.
yes.
Super helpful.
Perfect. Okay.
And any financial information that we could see in advance would be great.
Okay.
I think you've gotten some really good suggestions, because the consistency of the financial information makes it much easier.
Yeah, I think it'll make it a fairer playing ground for the students as well.
I apologize, but I have a 4:15 meeting I have to go to, but thank you. This was very good.
No, you're fine. We're just finishing up anyway. Thank you so much for joining.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
No? Not for me.
No,
if you-
just nice presentation, Scott.
Thank you.
You'd make the finals.
That's what I'm going for.
Very helpful.
Excellent. Glad to
Creating
hear.
this-
And if you do think of
creating-
anything, feel free to reach out. I'd be happy to answer any lingering questions.
You're creating a
Thank
sustainable
you.
product.
All right.
Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thanks,
Have a good
everyone.
one.
Bye.
Here, everyone. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.